Picture a cool, shadowy chamber, meticulously carved by hand into rock, where stone beams artfully mimic the appearance of long-lost wood. Every groove and notch isn't merely decorative, but holds a practical purpose, hinting at the remarkable ingenuity of ancient craftsmen. Having admired such architectural marvels in Indian caves, let's shift our focus to the vast deserts of Egypt, where engineers of antiquity didn't simply imitate nature, they mastered its fundamental elements. Water, one of the most vital substances for human survival, played a surprisingly crucial role in the construction of some of history's most enduring monuments. When building the colossal pyramids that have endured thousands of years, the Egyptians devised an elegantly simple yet profoundly effective method to ensure their foundations were perfectly level. They used water-filled trenches. Long before modern tools like lasers or GPS existed, the Egyptians understood a basic physical truth. Water always seeks its own level. Leveraging this natural property, workers would dig a network of shallow channels or trenches, arranged in a precise grid across the intended building site, then fill them with water. Wherever the water in these channels stood higher, it indicated that the ground was elevated. Where it stood lower, there was a dip. This provided a highly reliable reference, allowing them to methodically add or remove soil until the entire site was uniformly flat. For a massive and precise structure such as the Great Pyramid of Giza, covering an area larger than 13 hectares, this technique was absolutely essential. Remarkably, after more than 4 millennia, the pyramid's base remains stable and level, a powerful testament to the effectiveness of this ancient leveling system. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of these trench and water systems surrounding pyramid sites, underscoring just how fundamental water was in laying the groundwork for such engineering feats. But this method was no mere coincidence or lucky discovery. Egyptian builders displayed astonishing expertise in multiple facets of design and construction. They oriented their pyramids with precise alignment to the cardinal points: north, south, east, and west. Transported immense limestone and granite blocks over vast distances, and constructed temples that aligned with celestial phenomena. While some of their tools and technologies were undoubtedly advanced for their time, often the simplest natural laws and elements, like the stillness of water, were their most valuable allies. This example beautifully illustrates that not all ancient innovations were grandiose or shrouded in mystery. Many arose from practical needs, guided by observation, experimentation, and a touch of creativity. Though the pyramids themselves soar majestically into the sky, their remarkable precision began far below, in the still waters that quietly dictated the contours of the desert floor. These insights are only a small window into the countless ingenious, curious, and truly impressive ways ancient civilizations interacted with and transformed their environment. From deserts smoothed and measured by reflective water surfaces, to stone ceilings designed to imitate timber beams, from early cosmic calculators to golden dust floating mysteriously above Andean lakes, the ancient world reveals itself as a treasure trove of clever solutions and surprising knowledge. History, often reduced to grand battles and famous rulers, is equally a story of everyday inventiveness, craftsmanship, and discovery. Behind every monumental structure or legendary figure lies a foundation of practical wisdom passed down and refined across generations. Whether monks carefully copying manuscripts to preserve knowledge, or mountain merchants minting coins that fueled empires, these small but vital contributions collectively shaped human civilization. In many ways, these overlooked facts are more telling than the loud headlines of history. They remind us that the past was a world filled with wonder, experimentation, and determination, not so different from our own. The more we uncover about these ancient innovations, the richer our understanding of human creativity becomes. So, the next time you gaze up at the pyramids or imagine the ancient world, remember, behind their awe-inspiring facades lies a deep, humble respect for nature and an extraordinary ability to harness it, sometimes, quite simply, through the tranquil surface of water. When we think about writing, we often imagine poets composing beautiful verses, philosophers crafting grand ideas, or priests recording sacred texts. But what if I told you that the very first written language was born not from lofty inspiration, but from something much more down to earth? Beer. More than 5,000 years ago, in the region that is now southern Iraq, the ancient Sumerians became the first known people to develop a system of writing. This writing, called cuneiform, would later evolve to record everything from myths to laws, but its beginnings were far humbler. The earliest examples of cuneiform weren't about stories or religion. They were lists, ledgers, and receipts. Scratched into wet clay tablets with a reed stylus, these early records carefully tracked rations of beer distributed to workers and temple staff. Imagine a scribe meticulously noting down 1 jar of beer for this worker, 2 for that one, ensuring that everyone received their daily share. Beer wasn't just a drink to the Sumerians, it was an essential part of their economy, serving as both a source of nutrition and a form of currency. Beer was safer to consume than water and packed with calories, vital for people engaged in hard labor. Managing its distribution required order, and this need sparked the creation of writing itself. Initially, cuneiform writing looked like pictographs, simple pictures representing objects like jars or grains. But over time, these images transformed into abstract, wedge-shaped symbols pressed into clay. What began as practical record keeping eventually grew into a versatile script capable of conveying complex information, trade agreements, laws, religious hymns, and epic tales like the famous Gilgamesh. Behind this sophistication lies a profoundly human story. Some of the world's most transformative inventions come not from grand visions, but from practical necessities. The desire to organize, to keep track, to ensure fairness. These everyday needs laid the foundation for civilization's leap into literacy. Beer's role didn't stop at being a writing prompt. The Sumerians worshipped Ninkasi, their goddess of brewing, highlighting how integral beer was to their culture. One of the oldest surviving hymns in history is actually a beer recipe, sung in praise of this divine drink. So, next time you jot down a grocery list or send a text message, remember that writing's roots may well lie in barley, clay tablets, and the simple human need to keep track of who got their daily pint. This fascinating connection between beer and writing reminds us that history is full of surprising origins. Behind every great idea is often a surprisingly ordinary starting point. The development of writing marked a turning point for humanity, allowing knowledge to be recorded, shared, and preserved, changing the course of history forever. It's also a testament to the importance of daily life in shaping culture. The Sumerians didn't invent writing because they wanted to write novels or philosophy. They did it to manage logistics, food, and drink, the essentials of survival.
Understanding this practical birth of writing deepens our appreciation for how intertwined human culture and technology truly are. Innovations arise when necessity meets creativity. And the story of cuneiform and beer is a perfect example. From those first marks on clay tablets, the world's stories, laws, and knowledge began to be recorded, setting the stage for all future written communication. What started as simple beer ration lists eventually blossomed into the epic stories, legal codes, and scientific texts that form the backbone of human civilization.
It's a reminder that sometimes the humblest beginnings can lead to the most profound transformations. So, as you enjoy a drink or write a note, you're continuing a tradition that stretches back thousands of years, to the moment when beer inspired the first scribbles that changed the world. When we think of ancient medicine and technology, images of grand surgical tools or mysterious potions often come to mind. Yet sometimes the most remarkable innovations are surprisingly simple, like a wooden toe crafted over 3,000 years ago. Discovered near the city of Luxor, Egypt, this wooden prosthetic toe belonged to a woman and stands as the oldest known artificial limb in history. What makes this tiny artifact so extraordinary isn't just its age, but the level of craftsmanship and functionality it displays. Unlike ceremonial or symbolic objects, this toe was made with practicality in mind. Crafted carefully from wood and leather, it was designed to be worn in sandals, the common footwear of the time, to help its wearer walk more comfortably and naturally. Wear marks on the underside prove that it wasn't just decorative. It was used, walked on, and repaired over time, just like any well-used personal item. This finding challenges common assumptions about ancient medical practices. It shows that thousands of years ago, people were already innovating solutions to improve quality of life, adapting with the materials and tools available to them. The Egyptians, famous for their monumental architecture and advances in medical knowledge, extended their ingenuity to personal care and mobility. The story doesn't end there. Ancient Rome continued this legacy with prosthetics made from bronze and iron, often fashioned for soldiers who lost limbs in battle. One famous example is the Capua leg, dating from around 300 BCE. A metallic prosthetic believed to have belonged to a Roman warrior. Medieval Europe later produced wooden hands and hooks, crude but functional. Yet, the wooden toe from Egypt predates these by centuries, and reminds us that human creativity and the drive to adapt are constants throughout history. It speaks to a deeply human desire to overcome physical limitations, to remain active, and to reclaim a sense of normalcy after injury. This ancient toe also reveals something more personal. History is not just about kings and battles, but about individuals striving to live better lives. The anonymous woman who wore this toe centuries ago had access to a crafted solution that made her daily life easier, a testament to the care and skill of those around her. Moreover, it challenges us to rethink how we view progress. Sophisticated technology doesn't always mean complex machines or flashy inventions. Sometimes it's a small piece of wood, shaped and worn to serve a vital purpose. The wooden toe stands as a quiet symbol of resilience, innovation, and humanity's enduring quest to heal and adapt. It shows that ancient people weren't so different from us. They faced challenges, sought solutions, and cared deeply about well-being. In a broader sense, this artifact connects us to the long history of prosthetics, rehabilitation, and medical innovation that continues today. Modern prosthetics are marvels of engineering and technology, but they owe their roots to simple, clever beginnings like this one. So, the next time you think about ancient history, remember the wooden toe. A small but powerful reminder that behind the grand monuments and epic tales, there were real people with real needs, crafting real solutions that still inspire us thousands of years later. When we think of vending machines, our minds often jump to modern snacks and cold drinks, blinking screens, and the familiar clink of coins dropping in. But surprisingly, the concept of automated dispensing dates back almost 2 millennia. In the 1st century CE, a Greek engineer named Philo of Byzantium designed a device that could dispense holy water automatically when a coin was inserted. Imagine a temple visitor dropping a coin into a slot, and without any priestly intervention, a measured amount of sacred water flowed out, ready for ritual use.
How did this ancient machine work? It relied on a clever system of levers and weights inside a bronze container. When the coin fell in, it shifted a balance, opening a valve to release water. Once the coin's weight caused the lever to tip back, the valve closed, stopping the flow.
These vending machines were installed in Egyptian temples, places where ritual purity and controlled access to holy water mattered deeply. The machines kept the distribution organized, preventing theft or overuse, and likely amazed worshippers with their seemingly magical operation. Philo wasn't some eccentric tinkerer. He was part of a tradition of Greek engineers who pushed the boundaries of mechanics and hydraulics. His inventions also included mechanical birds that could sing, water pumps, and early thoughts on steam power, all remarkable achievements that predate similar developments in later centuries. What's especially fascinating is how this device resonates with us today. Thousands of years later, we still appreciate the simple convenience of putting in a coin and receiving a product or service immediately. Whether it's a snack or a bottle of water, the basic idea remains the same. Philo's vending machine wasn't just a novelty. It was a practical solution to manage sacred resources in a public setting. It combined technology with religious ritual, demonstrating how innovation can cross the boundaries between the spiritual and the mechanical. This ancient invention also sheds light on the long history of automation and user interaction. The idea of machines designed to serve people without constant human assistance. While today's vending machines are high-tech and digital, their roots lie in these early mechanical devices. So next time you stand in front of a modern vending machine, struggling to pick the right snack or hoping your dollar doesn't get stuck, remember the ancient Greek engineer who centuries ago made it possible to get holy water on demand. It's a quiet but profound connection across time, linking the ancient world's ingenuity with our everyday lives. Imagine a library not filled with paper books, but thousands of clay tablets, each carefully inscribed with wedge-shaped symbols. More than 2,600 years ago, in the ancient city of Nineveh, modern-day Iraq, King Ashurbanipal created what is considered the world's earliest extensive library. Unlike a casual collection of texts, Ashurbanipal's library held over 30,000 tablets, meticulously catalogued and stored in special rooms. This wasn't just bureaucracy. It was a monumental effort to gather knowledge from across Mesopotamia and beyond. The library's contents were diverse: epic poems, religious writings, legal documents, medical recipes, astronomical charts, and even administrative letters. Among its treasures was the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest surviving works of literature in the world, telling tales of gods, heroes, and quests. What makes this library even more remarkable is how it was preserved. When Nineveh was destroyed in 612 BCE, many of the tablets were baked in the fires, unintentionally hardening them like ceramic. Without that destructive event, many texts might have been lost forever. Ashurbanipal himself was no ordinary king. He was a scholar and collector, passionate about preserving knowledge. He commissioned scribes to travel, copy texts, and maintain an organized archive. Some tablets even had labels warning against removal, hinting at an early system to prevent theft or loss. The scale and sophistication of the library reflect the Assyrian Empire's ambition, not just in conquest, but in cultural preservation. In a world where wars could obliterate entire cities, Ashurbanipal's library was an attempt to safeguard humanity's collective memory. Today, many of these tablets reside in museums, painstakingly studied and translated. Each one opens a window into ancient beliefs, practices, and everyday life. From mythic stories to pragmatic legal codes, the library offers a rich tapestry of human history. This ancient archive reminds us that the desire to collect, preserve, and share knowledge is deeply human and has ancient roots. The libraries of today owe a great debt to these early efforts, which laid the groundwork for cultural continuity across millennia. So next time you visit a library or scroll through an online archive, remember Ashurbanipal and his clay tablets. A pioneering attempt to gather the world's knowledge long before the printing press or digital databases. Journey to ancient Japan between the 3rd and 7th centuries CE, where colossal burial mounds called kofun dominate the landscape. These aren't ordinary graves. They are monumental tombs constructed for emperors, nobles, and powerful clan leaders during what's now known as the Kofun period. From above, the Kofun tombs reveal their iconic shape, a giant keyhole with a circular mound connected to a rectangular platform. Some stretch over 400 meters in length, rivaling the size of the Great Pyramids, a testament to the immense labor and planning behind their creation. Inside these tombs, archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of treasures: bronze mirrors, weapons, armor, and ornaments. Surrounding many are fascinating figures called Haniwa, terracotta statues shaped like warriors, animals, dancers, and even houses. The exact purpose of Haniwa remains a mystery. Perhaps they served as guardians or symbols for the deceased. The construction of Kofun tombs was a massive societal undertaking, involving thousands of workers and sophisticated engineering. Their size and complexity reflect the growing centralization of power in early Japanese society, marking a shift from smaller clans to more unified rule. However, much about these tombs remains elusive. The largest, such as the Daisen Kofun, believed to be Emperor Nintoku's resting place, is protected as an imperial mausoleum. As a result, archaeologists have limited access, leaving many questions unanswered. Despite the limited excavations, the Kofun tombs provide invaluable insights into ancient Japan's culture, political structure, and beliefs about death and the afterlife. They are not just burial sites, but powerful statements of authority, legacy, and spiritual significance. Today, the Kofun remain silent giants, shaping the terrain and reminding us of a time when leaders sought to leave their mark, not through written words or monuments, but through earthworks of staggering scale. Visiting these sites offers a glimpse into a world where death and power intertwined in grand architectural gestures, where the landscape itself became a canvas for memory and reverence. The Kofun period, through these monumental tombs, connects us to early Japan's complex history and the enduring human desire to be remembered. Modern concrete structures often face a frustrating fate: cracked sidewalks, crumbling seawalls, and bridges needing constant repair. Yet some ancient Roman constructions have stood firm for over 2 millennia, especially those battered by the relentless waves of the Mediterranean Sea.
How did the Romans manage this feat? The secret lies in their unique recipe for concrete, which combined volcanic ash, lime, and seawater to create a material that not only resisted decay, but actually grew stronger over time.
The volcanic ash wasn't just filler. It triggered a chemical reaction when exposed to salt water, forming new minerals inside the concrete matrix. One key mineral, aluminous tobermorite, acts like a natural glue, strengthening the structure as years pass. This self-healing quality allowed Roman marine concrete to endure constant exposure to seawater without disintegrating, unlike many modern equivalents that deteriorate rapidly. Roman engineers likely discovered this formula through trial, error, and careful observation, rather than a full understanding of chemistry. The ash came from volcanic regions like Mount Vesuvius and the Bay of Naples, places where nature's fury provided the raw materials for human innovation. They used this durable concrete in harbors, aqueducts, baths, and monumental buildings meant to last generations. Many of these structures remain intact today, withstanding weather, earthquakes, and centuries of human activity. Modern scientists study Roman concrete to learn how to replicate its durability, hoping it can improve today's infrastructure, especially in marine environments where corrosion is a major challenge. Some researchers even propose that ancient Roman concrete might inform building materials for future colonies on the Moon or Mars, where traditional cement wouldn't perform well. This remarkable ancient technology challenges the assumption that modern materials are always superior. It reminds us that civilizations long gone mastered techniques that still inspire and puzzle us.
Next time you pass a pothole or see a crumbling sidewalk, Remember, there's a 2,000-year-old recipe out there that might just outperform what we use today.
A blend of volcanic ash, lime, seawater, and a dose of patience. Roman concrete stands as a testament to the ingenuity of ancient engineers, a silent guardian of history's lasting monuments. When we think about the Great Pyramid of Giza, we picture a solid, massive structure of limestone blocks arranged with astounding precision. But did you know it once featured a cleverly engineered door? A massive stone slab that could rotate smoothly, opening from the inside with just a gentle push. This wasn't an ordinary doorway. It was a swiveling block so perfectly balanced it required no hinges or handles. From outside, it blended seamlessly into the pyramid's outer casing, rendering it nearly invisible. Early explorers passed by without realizing a secret entrance was right there. The second pyramid at Giza, built for Pharaoh Khafra, is also said to have had a similar mechanism. This raises a fascinating question. How did ancient Egyptians, over 4,000 years ago, create such precise mechanical systems using only copper and stone tools? Scholars theorize the door pivoted on sockets carved into the floor and ceiling, allowing it to swing vertically like a hidden trapdoor. This design was not only practical, but added to the mystique of the pyramid's internal chambers. Far from being mere tombs, these pyramids were complex architectural marvels. Every stone was placed intentionally, with internal passageways and ventilation shafts carefully planned. The hidden door was part of this system, potentially serving as a security measure to protect the royal burial chambers. Some believe the door had symbolic meaning, controlling access to sacred spaces and preserving the sanctity of the pharaoh's resting place. Whatever its purpose, it exemplifies the Egyptians' sophisticated engineering skills. Unfortunately, the original swiveling door no longer exists. It was likely dismantled or damaged during early excavations or looting, but records from ancient times document its existence, offering us a glimpse into the pyramid's hidden secrets. Imagine standing inside the pyramid, centuries ago, pressing your hand against a smooth wall and feeling it slowly give way, revealing a secret passage. It's a moment that highlights the remarkable craftsmanship of a civilization that mastered both art and mechanics. Today, despite all our modern tools, replicating such a feat without leaving traces would be challenging. The revolving door of the Great Pyramid reminds us that ancient builders weren't just stacking stones. They were engineers, architects, and innovators. It's yet another reminder that beneath the monumental facades of history lie ingenious details waiting to be rediscovered. When we imagine Roman gladiators, we often picture fierce warriors fueled by a diet rich in meat, bulking up for brutal combat in blood-soaked arenas. But archaeological research reveals a surprising truth. Most gladiators were actually vegetarians, subsisting primarily on barley, beans, and other plant-based foods. Bone analyses from gladiator cemeteries, especially in Ephesus, modern Turkey, show that these fighters earned the nickname hordiari, or barley men, because of their grain-heavy diet. Far from eating lavish feasts of meat, their nutrition focused on plants that helped build a layer of subcutaneous fat. This fat wasn't just about looks. It served as a protective cushion during fights. In the arena, a thicker layer of fat could reduce the severity of wounds by absorbing blows, making surface injuries less life-threatening. This practical dietary choice increased their chances of surviving grueling battles, where surface cuts could be dramatic but rarely fatal if cushioned by fat. But gladiators' diet wasn't their only unusual health habit. They drank a tonic made of vinegar mixed with ashes. Though this concoction might sound unappetizing, it was actually a primitive recovery drink packed with calcium and minerals. The ashes, often derived from burned plants or bones, provided vital nutrients to strengthen bones and aid healing. Ancient Roman writers like Pliny the Elder mention this mixture, and modern science has found traces of these substances in gladiators' bones, confirming the practice was widespread and intentional. Far from wild brutes, gladiators were professional athletes. Their training, diet, and recovery were carefully managed to maximize performance and endurance. They lived disciplined lives focused on preparation and healing, not unlike modern sports professionals.
This discovery turns many common assumptions about gladiators on their head. They weren't reckless warriors living fast and dying young. They were highly trained fighters with scientifically informed diets and recovery routines.
It's a fascinating example of how small details from history can challenge stereotypes. Behind the spectacle of gladiatorial combat lay a surprising world of nutrition science, discipline, and health management. So, next time you watch a movie depicting gladiators feasting on meat and wine, remember they were more likely sipping their barley stew and ash tonic, carefully preparing their bodies for the arena. Imagine navigating a city without roads, sidewalks, or alleys. Just flat mud brick roofs, connected by wooden ladders, forming a complex maze above the ground. This was everyday life in Çatalhöyük, one of the oldest known urban settlements, located in modern-day Turkey and dating back more than 9,000 years. Unlike modern cities designed with streets and open public spaces, Çatalhöyük's homes were built tightly packed together in a honeycomb pattern. Residents entered their houses from the roof, descending ladders through openings in the ceilings. The rooftops doubled as communal walkways, gathering places, and social hubs. An ancient rooftop neighborhood long before such spaces became trendy. This unusual layout had practical benefits. With no streets at ground level, the settlement was easier to defend from invaders. The dense clustering of houses also helped regulate temperatures inside homes, keeping them warmer in winter and cooler in summer. Inside the homes, people lived surprisingly sophisticated lives. Walls were decorated with murals and animal skulls, and the dead were often buried beneath floors, indicating a close relationship between the living and ancestors. The community farmed, made tools, wove fabrics, and maintained a complex social structure that scholars are still uncovering. Interestingly, Çatalhöyük shows little evidence of social hierarchy. Houses were roughly the same size, and grave goods didn't vary significantly, suggesting a relatively egalitarian society without palaces or distinct rulers. This early urban model challenges conventional ideas about how cities develop. Instead of wide streets and plazas, people adapted their living environment to fit their needs, creating a cooperative and interconnected community, literally built roof to roof. Today, Çatalhöyük's ruins are a UNESCO World Heritage Site and continue to offer insight into the earliest experiments with urban living. From above, the remains still resemble a labyrinth of flat rooftops, frozen in time. Thinking about how humans have creatively organized living spaces for thousands of years helps us appreciate the diversity of urban design. Sometimes the past holds answers to modern challenges, reminding us that the way we live together has always been fluid and adaptable.
So next time you find yourself stuck in traffic or navigating crowded streets, remember the people of Çatalhöyük, who managed their bustling city by walking across roofs, proving that even ancient urban life had its own unique rhythm and logic. When you think about indoor plumbing and toilets, you probably picture modern cities. But over 4,500 years ago, the Indus Valley civilization was already pioneering sanitation systems that put many later societies to shame. Cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa featured well-planned drainage networks running beneath streets. Individual homes often had private toilets connected to these drains, allowing waste to be carried away efficiently. The city's engineers built soak pits to filter wastewater and used covered drains to keep smells and contamination at bay. These urban centers were so advanced in sanitation that some historians call them the Manhattans of the Bronze Age. The grid-like city layouts with straight streets and sophisticated sewage systems created a hygienic environment rarely seen in ancient times. Public wells provided fresh water to neighborhoods, and some houses even had early shower-like setups. Simple jugs poured over the body, with water draining into covered channels below. Remarkably, parts of the Indus Valley's plumbing were more hygienic than many European cities centuries later, which struggled with open gutters and frequent disease outbreaks. Despite these achievements, many aspects of Indus society remain mysterious. Their script remains undeciphered. So much about how they organized and governed their cities is still unknown. Nevertheless, their practical, efficient approach to sanitation shows a civilization deeply concerned with health, cleanliness, and urban comfort. Next time you complain about a clogged sink or a slow drain, Remember that over 4,000 years ago, people in the Indus Valley were solving similar problems with remarkable ingenuity.
If you think brain surgery is a modern medical feat, think again. Over 1,000 years ago, ancient surgeons in Peru were performing a procedure called trepanation, removing sections of the skull to relieve pressure from head injuries.
What's astounding is not just that they did it, but how well they did it. Studies of skulls found in Andean burial sites show that many patients survived
the operation, with evidence of bone healing around the surgical holes. In fact, the survival rate for trepanation in ancient Peru was remarkably high, sometimes over 80%. Surgeons used sharp tools made from obsidian and bronze to carefully cut or scrape circular openings in the skull. Different techniques, drilling, cutting, or scraping, were applied depending on the injury or available instruments. Patients endured the procedure without modern anesthesia or sterile conditions, relying perhaps on herbal remedies or high pain tolerance. Some individuals even underwent multiple trepanations and lived to tell the tale. This practice contrasts sharply with much later medical attempts during wars in the 19th century, which had far lower survival rates due to infections and poor techniques. The sophistication of these ancient surgeons reveals a deep understanding of anatomy and careful skill. Trepanation was not a rare or accidental practice, but a widespread and effective form of treatment. It challenges modern assumptions about ancient medicine being primitive or superstitious. Instead, it shows that some ancient cultures possessed medical knowledge and surgical abilities, rivaling or surpassing those of much later periods. So next time someone underestimates the skills of ancient healers, remember the Peruvian surgeons who opened skulls, saved lives, and paved the way for modern neurosurgery, all without the benefit of today's technology. Long before cities became commonplace, there was Uruk, one of the earliest urban centers in human history. Around 3000 BCE, this city in modern-day Iraq thrived with a population estimated at 50,000, making it a bustling metropolis by ancient standards. Uruk wasn't just a collection of mud brick houses. It was a center of innovation, trade, religion, and governance. The city featured monumental temples, such as the famous ziggurats, specialized workers, grain storage facilities, and public works. Uruk is often credited as the birthplace of urban life, with complex social structures and administrative systems that laid the foundation for future cities. One of Uruk's most significant contributions was the invention of writing. The earliest records from the city are economic documents, lists, trade records, and recipes, demonstrating how writing developed to serve practical needs like managing barley rations. This city was also home to one of history's first kings, Gilgamesh, whose legendary exploits became immortalized in what is now one of the oldest known literary works, the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Despite its ancient origins, Uruk's challenges would be familiar to any modern urban planner. Managing trade, organizing labor, and maintaining order in a densely populated environment. The city was connected by canals and footpaths, making it a hub of activity and interaction for thousands of inhabitants and visitors from surrounding regions. Uruk's legacy is profound. It set the blueprint for city life that shaped civilizations to come. It transformed human society from scattered villages to organized urban centers, beginning the story of cities as centers of culture, economy, and power. Imagine a time when the consequences of medical mistakes were literally life-changing, or hand-changing. Around 1750 BCE in Babylon, King Hammurabi established one of the world's earliest legal codes, which included detailed laws governing medical practice. Hammurabi's code set clear rules on how much doctors could charge and, importantly, what penalties they faced if their treatments failed. If a doctor successfully treated a patient, they could receive payment in silver or livestock, depending on the patient's social status. However, if a doctor caused serious harm, such as causing the death or loss of an eye of a wealthy patient, the code demanded harsh punishments, in some cases amputating the offending doctor's hand. This severe penalty reflected the importance of medical skill and accountability in Babylonian society. Unlike modern malpractice lawsuits, where compensation is monetary and courts decide, Hammurabi's laws enforced immediate and physical consequences. The stakes were incredibly high for ancient physicians, who operated under intense pressure to succeed on their first attempt. These laws also covered midwives, veterinarians, and barbers, indicating a broad regulatory framework for various health-related professions. Hammurabi's code reveals a surprisingly advanced understanding of professional responsibility and the value of medical expertise. It acknowledged both the critical role of healthcare and the risks involved. While brutal by today's standards, these regulations helped protect patients and maintain standards of care in ancient Babylon. The code serves as an early example of society attempting to balance the benefits and dangers of medical intervention, a challenge that remains relevant today. So next time you think medical regulations are modern inventions, remember that thousands of years ago, Babylonian doctors practiced under laws that could literally cost them a hand. Long before modern science and advanced instruments, ancient Babylonian astronomers developed methods to predict lunar eclipses with remarkable accuracy. Using careful observation, clay tablets, and centuries of recorded data, they noticed patterns in the movements of the moon and planets. One of their key discoveries was the Saros cycle, an approximately 18-year
11-day period after which eclipses tend to repeat. By tracking these cycles and compiling detailed astronomical diaries, Babylonian scholars could forecast when and where eclipses would occur. Not just vaguely, but with precise timing and location. They did all this without telescopes, computers, or a modern understanding of gravity and orbits. Instead, they relied on patience, meticulous record-keeping, and mathematical calculations based on observations. For the Babylonians, eclipses weren't just celestial curiosities. They were omens that could influence political and religious decisions. Predicting them helped kings prepare for potential changes or challenges ahead. Their work laid the foundation for future astronomers, influencing Greek thinkers and beyond. The Babylonians' blend of science, observation, and belief marks an early stage in humanity's quest to understand the cosmos. This achievement shows how curiosity and dedication can lead to profound knowledge, even with limited tools. Most people know Pythagoras as the ancient Greek mathematician behind the famous theorem about right triangles. But his influence went far beyond geometry. He founded a secretive, almost religious community that followed strict rules, including a surprising one: the prohibition of eating beans. This ban on beans wasn't just a dietary preference. The Pythagoreans believed beans contained souls or were connected to the cycle of human reincarnation. Eating beans was seen as morally wrong, akin to consuming human life. Others thought beans symbolized impurity or death, or that their fermentation caused unnatural bodily effects. Legend says that Pythagoras himself died because of his strict bean taboo. Fleeing from enemies, he came upon a bean field and refused to cross it, leading to his capture. Beyond beans, the Pythagorean community practiced silence, purity, and strict daily routines, believing numbers held sacred truths about the universe. While their mathematics profoundly influenced Western thought, their lifestyle combined mysticism, ethics, and science in unique ways. This curious bean ban reminds us that even the most brilliant minds can hold unusual beliefs, blending logic with spirituality. Throughout history, purple has been associated with royalty, power, and wealth. But the origins of this regal color go much deeper and smell much worse than most people realize. The legendary Tyrian purple dye was created by the ancient Phoenicians using tiny sea snails known as murex. The process was labor-intensive and required harvesting thousands of these snails to extract just a few drops of the precious dye. Each snail secreted a small amount of mucus that, after exposure to sunlight and air, transformed into a deep, rich purple pigment. The production sites, often located near Phoenician coastal cities like Tyre, were infamous for their foul odor, described by ancient writers as a pungent and lingering stench that could be smelled from miles away. Workshops were set up outside city limits to avoid the smell disturbing residents. Despite the smell and effort, the dye's value was immense. the color was vivid, long-lasting, and even became more intense over time. Because of its rarity and cost, Tyrian purple was reserved for emperors, priests, and elites. Wearing it without permission was sometimes punishable by law. Phoenicians not only mastered the chemical process, but also cleverly kept their method secret for centuries, controlling the market and trade of this luxurious commodity. Their monopoly on Tyrian purple contributed greatly to their wealth and influence across the Mediterranean. The legacy of Tyrian purple extends beyond color. It influenced social hierarchies, fashion, and economics of ancient civilizations, symbolizing status and authority. Today, the term Tyrian still refers to this historic dye, and purple remains linked with royalty, a tradition that began with the smelly snails of the ancient world. This story reminds us how a natural resource, combined with human ingenuity and secrecy, shaped culture and power in profound ways. It's tempting to think that complaining about bad service is a modern habit, born in the age of online reviews and social media. But in reality, customer dissatisfaction has a history stretching back nearly 4,000 years to ancient Babylon. Around 1800 BCE, a Babylonian named Nani wrote what is now considered the world's oldest known written complaint. Addressed to a copper merchant named Ayanasi, the clay tablet scolds the merchant for delivering poor quality copper and treating Nani's servant rudely. The complaint outlines how Nani's servant went to purchase copper, paid with silver, but received substandard goods instead. Additionally, the merchant's attitude was offensive, prompting Nani to demand a refund and replacement. This letter isn't an isolated case. Archaeologists found an archive of similar complaints in Ayanasi's house, suggesting that customer grievances were common and sometimes documented in writing. What's striking about Nani's complaint is how modern it feels. His tone is polite but firm, expressing disappointment rather than anger, and demanding justice in a business transaction. This ancient episode reveals that trade and commerce were highly developed and taken seriously enough to warrant written records of disputes. It also highlights early notions of consumer rights and accountability. The clay tablet, now housed in the British Museum, offers a rare glimpse into everyday life in Babylon, where business dealings, quality control, and customer service mattered. So next time you consider leaving a review or filing a complaint, remember Nani, who walked the path of consumer advocacy thousands of years before us, etching his dissatisfaction into clay. This discovery reminds us that human nature, including the urge to seek fairness and quality, remains constant across millennia. Imagine stepping into a bustling marketplace where the air is thick with the aroma of spices, roasted maize, and fresh produce. But beyond the sensory overload, what truly stands out is the astonishing order and sophistication of the market system. This was the marketplace of Tlatelolco, the twin city to Tenochtitlan, the heart of the Aztec Empire, in the early 1500s. When Spanish conquistadors first arrived, they were astounded not only by the size of the city, but by how organized its markets were. Hernan Cortés and his men compared the central market of Tlatelolco to the stock exchanges of Europe, a striking compliment from observers used to chaos and disorder. Merchants were grouped by the types of goods they sold: textiles in one area, food in another, tools in a separate section. This zoning allowed for efficient trade and easier navigation. Appointed market inspectors and judges oversaw transactions and settled disputes, ensuring fair practices and adherence to regulations. Interestingly, currency was often non-monetary. Cacao beans and cotton cloth served as mediums of exchange, valued for their utility and scarcity. The system worked remarkably well, facilitating trade among thousands daily, with estimates of up to 60,000 visitors on peak days. This level of order was unusual for markets worldwide at that time, and Spanish chroniclers marveled at the administrative skills that kept such a complex system running smoothly. The Aztec markets were not just places of commerce, but vital social and political hubs, reinforcing community ties and economic stability. The success of Tlatelolco's market system illustrates how ancient societies developed highly efficient economic institutions, rivaling those in Europe for centuries afterward. This legacy challenges the stereotype of indigenous markets as primitive or chaotic, highlighting instead their sophistication and influence. Earthquakes have long been one of nature's most unpredictable and devastating forces. Today, we rely on sophisticated sensors and satellite technology to detect tremors and provide early warnings. But nearly 100 years ago, during China's Eastern Han Dynasty, an ingenious inventor named Zhang Heng created what is considered the world's first earthquake detector, a mechanical marvel that signaled distant quakes with startling accuracy. The device was a large bronze vessel, almost urn-like, adorned with 8 dragon heads arrayed around its circumference. Each dragon held a small bronze bowl in its mouth, positioned directly above a toad with an open mouth, poised as if ready to catch a snack. When seismic waves from an earthquake, even hundreds of miles away, reached the instrument, one of the bowls would drop from a dragon's mouth into the waiting toad's jaws, creating an audible clang. This indicated both that an earthquake had occurred and the direction from which it came. Although the internal mechanism has been lost to time, modern engineers have recreated likely designs showing a pendulum-based system that would tilt in response to ground vibrations, releasing the ball in the direction of the tremor. Remarkably, historical records report that Zhang Heng's seismoscope successfully detected an earthquake over 500 kilometers distant, at a time when people near the device felt no shaking. This invention reveals much about ancient Chinese engineering and their proactive approach to understanding natural phenomena. While much of the world remained unaware or helpless against earthquakes, Chinese scholars sought to measure, predict, and communicate these events.
Zhang Heng himself was a polymath, an astronomer, mathematician, inventor, and poet who contributed broadly to science and culture. His seismoscope was part of a tradition that valued observation and practical application of knowledge. Compared to the West, where seismographs would only be developed over a millennium later, this Chinese invention was centuries ahead, highlighting the global diversity of technological innovation. Though not widely disseminated or perfect, Zhang Heng's seismoscope symbolizes human curiosity and ingenuity, reflecting a desire to tame the unpredictable forces of nature. The device also had a spiritual dimension. Earthquakes were often seen as omens or messages from the heavens, and detecting their arrival had social and political importance, allowing officials to respond appropriately. Today, while modern seismology uses highly advanced sensors and computer networks, Zhang Heng's invention reminds us that early attempts at scientific instrumentation paved the way. His bronze dragons and toads may seem quaint compared to digital readouts, but they embody a profound human impulse to observe, to understand, and to protect. As you consider the technologies protecting us from natural disasters, take a moment to appreciate the ancient mind that transformed bronze and balance into the world's first earthquake warning system. It's a testament to the power of innovation and the timeless human quest to live safely amid the Earth's tremors. Long before the roar of stadium crowds and the bright lights of modern arenas, the Olmec civilization in ancient Mesoamerica was laying the groundwork for one of humanity's oldest team sports, a game that blended athleticism, ritual, and social diplomacy. The Olmecs flourished around 1500 BCE in what is now southern Mexico. Among their remarkable cultural legacies are the colossal stone heads, intricate jade carvings, and sprawling urban centers. But perhaps one of their most intriguing contributions is the creation of the Mesoamerican ball game, a sport played on courts shaped like elongated eyes, carved into the earth. Archaeologists have uncovered dozens of these ball courts across Olmec sites, revealing a deep-rooted tradition. Though no written rulebooks survive, the court's design and placement near temples indicate the game's importance beyond mere recreation. The ball game involved a heavy rubber ball and a narrow playing field with sloped sides. Players were tasked with keeping the ball in play using any body part except their hands and feet, hips, elbows, shoulders, demanding extraordinary skill and agility. Scoring often involved sending the ball through stone rings mounted high on the court walls, a feat requiring precision and strength. The rubber ball was not light. It could cause serious injury, making the game as dangerous as it was thrilling. Far from being a simple pastime,
The game had profound religious and political significance. Some scholars believed the matches symbolized cosmic battles between life and death, day and night, order and chaos. Outcomes might have influenced political alliances, conflict resolution, or even sacrificial rituals. Spectators likely gathered in large numbers to watch, placing bets or offering prayers. The game was a spectacle, part sport, part ceremony, deeply woven into social life. Later Mesoamerican civilizations, like the Maya and Aztecs, refined and expanded the ball game, but the Olmecs appear to have been pioneers, giving form and meaning to this ancient tradition. The physical demands and ceremonial context combined athletic competition with spiritual expression, making the ball game a unique fusion of culture and sport. This ancient sport reveals how human societies have long used games not only for entertainment, but to reinforce social bonds, negotiate power, and connect with the divine. From the dusty courts of the Olmecs to the world's modern stadiums, the echoes of this ball game remind us of our shared human heritage, the drive to compete, to celebrate, and to unite through play. In many ways, the Olmec ball game laid the foundation for organized team sports as we know them, centuries before similar ideas appeared elsewhere. As you watch a game today, consider the millennia-old tradition it descends from. A blend of skill, ritual, and community that has bound humans together across time. When winter chills grip modern cities, we rely on central heating systems to keep homes warm and comfortable. But over 2 millennia ago, the Romans had already engineered an elaborate heating system that was nothing short of revolutionary: the hypocaust. The word hypocaust comes from the Greek hypo meaning under, and kaustos meaning burnt. This system was essentially an ancient form of central heating, designed to warm public baths, villas, and wealthy homes. Roman engineers constructed raised floors supported by small pillars called pile stacks, creating a hollow space beneath. Hot air and smoke from a nearby furnace, the Praefurnium, would flow through this space, heating the floors above. Walls were often hollow as well, allowing hot air to circulate and warm the rooms evenly. This ingenious design provided consistent, radiant heat, a stark contrast to open fires or braziers that filled rooms with smoke and posed fire risks. Public bathhouses, or thermae, were among the largest consumers of hypocaust heating. These sprawling complexes had multiple rooms, including the caldarium, hot bath, tepidarium, warm bath, and frigidarium, cold bath, all maintained at different temperatures thanks to the hypocaust. Maintaining the system was labor-intensive. Slaves or workers had to keep furnaces stoked with wood, managing airflow to prevent overheating or smoke buildup. But the result was luxurious warmth, improved hygiene, and social spaces that became central to Roman life. The hypocaust was not just a technical innovation, but a social one. It reflected the Romans' value on comfort, community, and engineering mastery. Archaeological sites from Britain to North Africa reveal remarkably preserved hypocausts, testifying to the system's widespread adoption across the empire. In some regions, hypocausts remained in use or inspired heating designs well into the Middle Ages, influencing European architecture and technology. Beyond its practical function, the hypocaust symbolized the power and sophistication of Roman civilization, a civilization that could harness fire and air to transform daily living. Today, as we enjoy modern heating, it's worth remembering the ancient ingenuity that laid the groundwork, providing warmth through clever design long before electricity or gas. The Roman hypocaust stands as a testament to human innovation, combining science, architecture, and social needs into a seamless solution that endured centuries. It reminds us that comfort is often a product of creativity and perseverance, a legacy passed down through the ages. In 1901, divers exploring a Roman shipwreck off the coast of the Greek island Antikythera uncovered a puzzling artifact, a corroded bronze device with gears and dials unlike anything previously found from the ancient world. This was the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient analog computer dating back to around 100 BCE. What makes this device so extraordinary is its complexity. With at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, it was capable of predicting astronomical positions and eclipses decades in advance. Essentially, it was an ancient calculator designed to model the motions of the sun, moon, and possibly the known planets. Scientists believe the mechanism displayed the calendar, the zodiac, and the cycles of the Olympic Games, tying together timekeeping, astronomy, and cultural events. The front had a dial showing the Egyptian calendar and the zodiac constellations, while the back featured pointers tracking lunar phases and eclipses. For decades after its discovery, the mechanism baffled researchers. It was unlike any other known device from antiquity, with mechanical sophistication comparable to 18th century clockwork. Only modern X-ray imaging revealed the intricate gear system inside, hidden beneath centuries of corrosion. Its origins remain a mystery, though many scholars credit Greek scientists like Hipparchus or Archimedes as inspirations. The device demonstrates the advanced technological and scientific knowledge of the Hellenistic period. The Antikythera mechanism challenges our assumptions about ancient technology. It shows that ancient engineers were capable of building complex instruments, previously thought impossible until much later. Its discovery has inspired not only historians and archaeologists, but also engineers and mathematicians, revealing a lost chapter of human innovation. Today, replicas of the mechanism have been built, demonstrating how the ancient Greeks could track celestial events with mechanical precision. This remarkable artifact reminds us that technology evolves in unexpected ways, and that the ancient world still holds secrets waiting to be understood. The Antikythera mechanism stands as a testament to the enduring human quest to understand the cosmos, blending science, engineering, and craftsmanship over 2 millennia ago. Stretching across hundreds of square kilometers in the arid coastal plains of southern Peru lie the Nazca Lines, a series of enormous geoglyphs etched into the desert floor by the ancient Nazca culture between 500 BCE and 500 CE. These giant drawings depict animals, plants, humans, and geometric shapes, visible only from the air. The Nazca people removed reddish-brown iron oxide-coated stones to reveal the lighter-colored earth beneath, creating high-contrast images that have baffled researchers for decades. Among the most famous figures are a hummingbird, monkey, spider, and condor, some spanning hundreds of meters in length. The purpose of the lines remains debated. Some theories suggest they were religious or astronomical markers, possibly aligned with solstices or water sources, essential in such an arid environment. Others propose they were part of ritual processions or connected to fertility rites. Creating these geoglyphs required sophisticated planning and knowledge of geometry. Despite lacking aerial views, the Nazca people managed to design massive, proportionally accurate shapes, perhaps by using grids or ropes to scale up smaller sketches. The line's survival owes to the region's stable climate, dry with little wind or rain, preserving the images for centuries. However, increased tourism and modern threats have raised concerns about preservation. The Nazca Lines are more than art. They offer insight into a complex society deeply connected to their environment and spirituality. Their enigmatic presence continues to inspire wonder and curiosity. Modern technology, including drones and satellite imaging, has helped reveal previously unknown patterns and provided clues about their construction. Though their exact meaning may never be fully known, the Nazca Lines remain a powerful symbol of human creativity and the mysteries of ancient civilizations.
Visiting or studying the lines connects us to a world where humans left a message not in words, but in shapes carved across the earth. A lasting enigma etched into the desert.
In the vast annals of human storytelling, few works carry as much weight and antiquity as the Epic of Gilgamesh. Originating from ancient Mesopotamia around 2100 BCE, this epic poem stands as the oldest surviving piece of literature, predating even the oldest biblical texts.
The story follows Gilgamesh, the semi-divine king of Uruk, who is 2/3 god and 1/3 man. He is a complex figure, part heroic, part flawed, whose journey explores themes of friendship, mortality, and the search for meaning.
At the start, Gilgamesh is a tyrant, ruling Uruk harshly. The gods respond by creating Enkidu, a wild man who becomes Gilgamesh's equal and friend. Their companionship softens Gilgamesh's heart, leading to adventures like defeating the monstrous Humbaba and the Bull of Heaven. feats that solidify Gilgamesh's heroism but also attract divine wrath. The turning point comes when Enkidu dies, confronting Gilgamesh with the reality of death. This loss sparks a profound quest for immortality. Gilgamesh journeys to meet Utnapishtim, the immortal survivor of a great flood, who tells him that eternal life is reserved for the gods. Despite failing to gain immortality, Gilgamesh returns wiser, accepting human mortality and focusing on his legacy as a ruler who builds and nurtures his city. The epic is inscribed on 12 clay tablets in cuneiform script, discovered in the ruins of the library of Ashurbanipal in Nineveh. Its narrative influenced countless stories, including flood myths found in various cultures. Beyond its mythic scope, the Epic of Gilgamesh offers timeless reflections on friendship, grief, and the human condition. It's a reminder that while death is inevitable, our deeds and relationships give life meaning. The epic also sheds light on Mesopotamian society, their values, religion, and worldview. It speaks to a civilization grappling with fundamental questions still relevant today. Scholars continue to study and translate the epic, finding new insights into ancient language, culture, and philosophy.
For modern readers, Gilgamesh's story remains resonant, a bridge connecting us to the dawn of human storytelling and the enduring quest for understanding ourselves and our place in the universe.
In the cradle of civilization, the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, ancient Mesopotamians faced both opportunity and challenge. While the rivers provided vital water, their seasonal flooding was unpredictable, sometimes bringing drought, other times destructive floods. To transform this volatile environment into a stable home for agriculture and urban life, they engineered some of the earliest and most sophisticated irrigation systems the world has ever seen. These irrigation works were the lifeblood of Mesopotamian society, allowing them to cultivate vast tracts of land that would otherwise remain barren. Without irrigation, the food surpluses necessary to support burgeoning cities like Uruk, Ur, and Babylon simply wouldn't have been possible. The challenge of the rivers. The Tigris and Euphrates, while life-giving, were notoriously unpredictable. Floods could come with little warning, washing away crops and settlements. At other times, the rivers would retreat, leaving dry, cracked soil that failed to yield crops. Ancient Mesopotamians developed an intricate network of canals, dikes, reservoirs, and basins to control water flow. Canals diverted river water to fields, while dikes and levees protected cities from floodwaters. Reservoirs stored excess water during wet seasons to be used during dry spells. Innovations in water management. Building and maintaining these irrigation systems required not just technical skill, but social organization. Workers coordinated to dig canals hundreds of kilometers long, often crossing challenging terrain. Early canals were lined with clay to prevent seepage and erosion. They incorporated sluice gates and locks to regulate water levels, demonstrating an understanding of hydraulics. Water was distributed via a branching network of main canals, secondary channels, and smaller irrigation ditches, ensuring even coverage. This elaborate infrastructure was maintained through communal effort and overseen by authorities, blending engineering with governance. Agricultural transformation. Thanks to irrigation, Mesopotamians could grow staple crops like barley, wheat, flax, and dates in large quantities. These surpluses supported not only farmers but artisans, merchants, priests, and rulers, fueling the rise of complex societies. The reliability of irrigation also encouraged land ownership and investment, as farmers had incentives to improve soil fertility and develop long-term agricultural strategies. Social and political impact. Irrigation systems required coordination among many villages and regions, fostering cooperation and centralized authority. Kings and city-states took credit for building and maintaining canals, often inscribing their names on monuments and tablets. Control over water was a source of power and sometimes conflict. Disputes over water rights are recorded in early legal codes like the Code of Hammurabi, highlighting the importance of irrigation to social stability. Legacy and influence.
Mesopotamian irrigation practices influenced neighboring cultures across the Fertile Crescent and beyond. Their innovations laid foundations for water management in Egypt, Persia, and later civilizations.
Though many ancient canals have long vanished or been buried, archaeological studies reveal their remarkable scale and sophistication. Some modern irrigation systems still echo principles developed millennia ago. Challenges and decline. Despite their ingenuity, Mesopotamian irrigation systems faced problems. Salinization, the buildup of salt in the soil from irrigation, gradually reduced soil fertility, contributing to agricultural decline and population shifts. Environmental degradation, combined with political turmoil and invasions, led to the eventual weakening of these early civilizations. A testament to human ingenuity. The irrigation systems of ancient Mesopotamia stand as a profound example of early engineering and societal organization. They transformed a challenging landscape into a cradle of civilization. Their story is a testament to humanity's ability to harness nature's forces through collaboration, technology, and vision. As modern societies grapple with water management and sustainability, looking back at Mesopotamia's successes and failures offers valuable lessons. It reminds us that civilization's survival and growth have always depended on how well we manage our most vital resource, water.
Imagine a place where the world's wisdom was gathered under one roof. A sanctuary of knowledge where scholars from Egypt, Greece, Persia, and beyond came to study, debate, and preserve the world's learning. This was the Great Library of Alexandria, founded in the 3rd century BCE in Egypt,
which became the most famous center of learning in the ancient world.
The vision and foundation. The library was part of the Mauseon, a larger research institution dedicated to the Muses, the goddesses of arts and sciences. Established by Ptolemy I, a successor of Alexander the Great, the library was intended to collect every written work in existence, encompassing philosophy, science, literature, mathematics, medicine, and more. Scholars and scribes worked tirelessly to acquire texts from across the known world. Ships arriving at Alexandria's port were reportedly searched for books, which were then copied and catalogued. Originals were stored in the library, and copies were often returned to their owners. A collection beyond measure. Estimates suggest the library housed between 40,000 and 400,000 scrolls, a staggering number for the time. These scrolls contained works in multiple languages, including Greek, Egyptian, Hebrew, Persian, and Sanskrit, reflecting Alexandria's role as a cultural melting pot. Subjects ranged from Homeric epics to treatises on astronomy, geography, and medicine. The library was not just a repository, but a place of active research and teaching. Famous scholars and contributions. Figures like Euclid, Archimedes, Eratosthenes, and Hipparchus were associated with Alexandria. Euclid's Elements laid the foundations of geometry. Eratosthenes calculated the Earth's circumference with remarkable accuracy. Hipparchus advanced our understanding of astronomy. The library fostered an intellectual climate that encouraged critical thinking, experimentation, and cross-cultural exchange. Organization and cataloging. One of the library's achievements was its organization of knowledge. Callimachus, a librarian, created the Pinakes, a comprehensive bibliographic catalog listing authors and their works. An early model of a library catalog. The library also developed early classification systems and methods of textual criticism, comparing manuscripts to establish authoritative versions. Mysteries and tragedies. The library's fate is shrouded in mystery and controversy. It suffered damage during Julius Caesar's siege of Alexandria in 48 BCE, when parts of the city and the harbor were set ablaze. Some accounts suggest the library was partially destroyed then. Later incidents, including decrees by Christian emperors and Muslim conquests, have been blamed for further losses. But historical evidence is sparse and debated. The library's destruction symbolizes the fragility of knowledge and cultural heritage, inspiring both lament and efforts to preserve and recover lost wisdom. Legacy and influence. Despite its tragic end, the Library of Alexandria's influence endures. It set a precedent for the idea of universal knowledge, a place where learning from all cultures could be gathered and shared. Modern libraries and research institutions look back to Alexandria as an ideal, emphasizing openness, scholarship, and preservation. The library inspired the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and continues to symbolize human curiosity and the pursuit of understanding. Modern efforts and the Bibliotheca. Alexandrina. In 2002, Egypt inaugurated the Bibliotheca Alexandrina, a modern library and cultural center near the ancient site. It aims to revive the spirit of the original, a beacon of knowledge, dialogue, and cultural exchange in the 21st century. This new institution houses millions of books, hosts conferences, and supports research, echoing the ancient library's mission. Reflection on knowledge and civilization. The story of Alexandria's library reminds us that knowledge is a communal treasure, fragile and precious. It underscores the importance of preserving, sharing, and building upon the insights of those who came before. In an age of information overload, Alexandria's dream challenges us to seek wisdom, not just data, to connect diverse ideas and cultures in the quest for understanding. When modern medicine emerged as a rigorous science only in the last few centuries, many assumed ancient peoples relied mostly on superstition and rudimentary treatments. However, the medical practices of ancient Egypt, dating back over 3,000 years, tell a very different story. One of surprising sophistication, detailed anatomical knowledge, and holistic care that in many ways anticipated modern approaches. Foundations of Egyptian medical knowledge. Egyptian medicine was deeply intertwined with religion and magic, but it also incorporated empirical observation and systematic treatments. Medical papyri, such as the Edwin Smith Papyrus and the Ebers Papyrus, reveal detailed knowledge of anatomy, surgical procedures, diagnoses, and remedies. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, often considered the world's oldest surgical text, offers step-by-step instructions for treating wounds, fractures, and even tumors. Its pragmatic approach is notable for relying on examination and prognosis, rather than mystical incantations alone. The Ebers Papyrus complements this with extensive pharmacological recipes, listing hundreds of medicinal plants, minerals, and animal products used to treat ailments ranging from digestive issues to skin diseases. Doctors and medical practice. Physicians in ancient Egypt were specialists, trained and often affiliated with temples dedicated to healing gods such as Imhotep, Sekhmet, and Thoth. These medical practitioners could be generalists or experts in particular fields like dentistry, ophthalmology, or gastroenterology. Diagnosis included physical examination and questioning patients, with treatments ranging from herbal remedies and ointments to surgeries and magical spells. Surgical instruments made of copper and bronze have been found, including scalpels, forceps, and probes, indicating skilled surgical practice. Anatomy and mummification. The practice of mummification contributed significantly to Egyptian anatomical knowledge. Through careful removal and preservation of internal organs, embalmers developed a detailed understanding of human anatomy, which informed medical practices. Despite religious prohibitions against dissection, the embalming process offered insights unavailable to many contemporary cultures. Holistic approach to health. Egyptian medicine was holistic, recognizing the connection between physical, mental, and spiritual health. Treatments often combined practical remedies with rituals and prayers, reflecting an integrated worldview. Physicians might prescribe medicinal plants alongside incantations or charms, acknowledging the psychological and spiritual dimensions of healing. Innovations and legacy. Ancient Egyptians pioneered treatments still recognized today. They used honey as an antibacterial agent, willow bark containing salicylic acid, a precursor to aspirin, and various herbs with anti-inflammatory properties. The Edwin Smith Papyrus describes suturing wounds, immobilizing fractures, and managing infections, showcasing remarkable surgical understanding. Egyptian medicine influenced later Greek and Roman medical traditions, laying foundations for Hippocrates and Galen. Challenges and mysteries. While much has been uncovered, many aspects of Egyptian medical practice remain enigmatic. Some remedies and rituals are still not fully understood, and the exact training and status of physicians varied over time. The blending of magic and medicine challenges modern readers, but was essential to the cultural context of healing. Modern relevance. Studying ancient Egyptian medicine enriches our appreciation for early scientific thinking and the deep roots of healthcare. It reminds us that the quest to heal and understand the body is a timeless human endeavor, shaped by culture, observation, and faith. Before airplanes, trains, or even wheeled vehicles became widespread, ancient civilizations were already building extensive networks of roads and trade routes that spanned vast distances, linking cultures, economies, and ideas in ways that shaped the course of human history. These routes were not merely paths worn by foot or beast, but carefully constructed arteries of commerce and communication, from the sun-baked deserts of the Near East to the dense jungles of South America, from the steppes of Central Asia to the Mediterranean's bustling ports. The origins of road building. The earliest roads emerged as simple tracks connecting villages and fields. Over time, as societies grew more complex, roads evolved into engineered pathways, often paved or reinforced, enabling the movement of goods, armies, and diplomats. In Mesopotamia, the ancient Sumerians built some of the first known roads around 4000 BCE, facilitating trade between city-states. The Assyrians and Babylonians further expanded these networks, building highways lined with way stations for travelers. The Persian Royal Road. One of the most famous ancient roads was the Royal Road of the Persian Empire, stretching over 2,500 kilometers from Sardis in modern Turkey to Susa in Iran. This road, built under King Darius III around 500 BCE, allowed messengers to travel the entire distance in about 7 days, a feat of speed and organization remarkable for its time. The royal road was maintained by the empire, with relay stations, guards, and rest stops, exemplifying an early postal system. It facilitated trade, military movements, and cultural exchange across the vast empire. Roman roads, engineering marvels. Roman roads represent the pinnacle of ancient road engineering. Constructed from multiple layers of stone and gravel, designed for drainage and durability, these roads connected every corner of the Roman Empire. The famous Appian Way, Via Appia, linked Rome to southern Italy, allowing armies and goods to move efficiently. Roman roads were so well built that many survive today, underlying modern highways. Roads were political tools as well, symbolizing Roman power and enabling rapid military deployment to maintain control over conquered territories. Silk Road, the gateway between East and West. Perhaps the most iconic trade network was the Silk Road, a series of interconnected routes stretching from China to the Mediterranean. Not a single road, but a complex web. It enabled the exchange of silk, spices, precious metals, ideas, and religions. Caravans of camels braved deserts and mountains, while merchants, pilgrims, and envoys traversed these routes, bringing goods and culture. The Silk Road fostered globalization in antiquity, spreading Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam, along with innovations like paper, gunpowder, and the compass. Trade in the Americas. In the Americas, complex trade networks existed long before European contact. The Incas built the Capac Ñan, an extensive road system crossing the Andes, spanning over 40,000 kilometers. This network connected diverse ecological zones and facilitated administration, military movements, and trade. Other cultures, such as the Maya and Aztecs, engaged in long-distance trade for luxury goods like jade, obsidian, and cacao. Impact on civilization. These roads and trade networks shaped economies, politics, and cultures. They enabled wealth accumulation, urbanization, and cultural diffusion. The exchange of ideas led to technological and artistic innovation, while trade fostered diplomatic relationships and sometimes conflicts. Challenges and maintenance. Building and maintaining roads required significant labor, resources, and governance. Empires invested heavily in infrastructure as a strategic asset. Environmental challenges like floods, earthquakes, and wear from traffic demanded continuous repair.
Legacy.
Ancient roads laid the foundations for modern transportation infrastructure and global trade. They remind us that connectivity is fundamental to civilization's growth and resilience. Today's highways, railways, and internet cables are descendants of these early pathways. Reflection. The story of ancient roads teaches us about the power of connection, how pathways across harsh landscapes enabled diverse peoples to interact, share, and build the complex world we inherit. From royal messengers in Persia to traders on the Silk Road, from Roman legionnaires marching to distant frontiers to Andean runners speeding along mountain trails. These roads were the veins of human civilization. They remind us that behind every journey lies a story, and behind every connection, the seeds of progress